Hungarian Folk Tales. The Little Pulley Dog. Once upon a time, a very, very long time ago, Jesus roamed the earth with St. Peter. They sought shelter for the night and knocked on many doors of many houses, but no one would let them in because they were dressed as lowly beggars. One day they came to the mansion house of a rich landowner. Let us see if these good people will accommodate us for the night. So the two lowly beggars entered the house, where they were made warmly welcome. Their kind hosts made them a hot supper and gave them soft beds to sleep in that night. The next morning they thanked their kind hosts and left to go on their way. And as they left, Jesus said, "Peter, this man is rich and has everything in the world he needs, and yet there is still one vital thing that he lacks. We shall give him the gift of a beautiful baby boy, and we will provide that boy with whatever he needs, whenever he asks for it." So the rich man called his servant John, and John overheard what the two beggars had said. Soon the woman of the house became heavy with child. And she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Soon after the baby was born, the rich man had to travel to the local village, and his wife stayed at home with their young child. Then John had an idea. He cut the throat of a hen and smeared the red blood around the wife's mouth to make the rich landlord think that she had eaten the child. And then he stole away, taking the child with him. They rode and rode until they came to the town where the king lived. "Here," John said to the boy, "do you see, son, what a splendid palace the king lives in?" "I do, father." "Now ask for a much better one at the other end of the town." And so the boy asked for a palace, and it really was much more spectacular than the one the king owned. The locals soon began to gossip about the magnificent palace that had sprouted out of the ground overnight. Even the king became curious to see for himself, and so he went to the brand new palace and declared that it really was much grander than his own and had everything a man could wish for in a home. The king soon came to like John, and so he let him marry his beautiful daughter. But after the wedding was over, the princess began to question John. "Tell me, John, where did you get this beautiful boy from if you say that you have never been married before? And how come you own such a glorious home? Don't nag me, wife. I shall tell you everything one day." One day, when the boy was grown, he arrived home from school in a horse-drawn carriage. His wife told John that she would not live with him for a day longer if he did not tell her from where he got the boy and the palace. And so John began to explain. As the two of them were talking, John said to his wife, "We forgot to tell the coachman to take the boy home." And as they opened the door, they saw that the boy had been standing outside and heard every word they had said. They called him to eat, but instead the boy went down to the stables and told the coachman to saddle him a horse as he planned to leave. When the horse was saddled, he told his father, Now, John, you should turn into a black pulley dog and follow me. Then the boy, who had no name, left for home. By evening, he arrived at a mayor's house, where he asked for shelter for the night. The mayor and his wife made the boy supper, but when they offered food to his pulley dog, he told them not to. Instead, he gave the little dog coal to eat. In fact, the coal was still aflame from the fire. The mayor said, "I have never seen anything like it in my life that a prince should feed a fine dog with burning coal." "Mayor, have you ever heard of a person being buried alive?" "Yes, I have." "And did it happen far from this place?" "It's a long ride by horse from here." In the morning, the prince awoke and again fed the pulley dog with burning coal. And he rode until he eventually arrived at a second village. Here again he sought shelter with the local mayor. They fed him a fine meal, and again he asked for burning coal to feed his pulley dog. The mayor said, "I have never heard of such a thing before. How is it that such a fine dog eats hot coals?" "Yes, but have you ever heard, Mayor, of a person being buried alive?" "I have, and it happened not far from here. If you ride fast, you will soon be there." So after a good night's sleep, the prince continued his journey. He arrived in his own village the next day at noon, where again he sought shelter with the local mayor. They fed him a fine meal, and again he asked for burning coal to feed his pulley dog. "I have never heard of such a thing before. How is it that such a fine dog eats hot coals?" "Yes, but have you ever heard, Mayor, of a person being buried alive?" "Yes, I have, and it happened here." "Is the man still alive who buried the woman alive?" "Yes, he is." "Then please, Mayor, come with me." Then they went to see the landlord. But he had become so poor during the last 16 years that all he had was a pile of burning coal in the middle of his house and nothing more. The prince strode up to the pile of coal and gave a piece to his pulley dog to eat. "I have never heard of such a thing before. How is it that such a fine dog eats hot coals?" "Yes, but have you ever heard of a person being buried alive?" "Yes, it happened to be my wife." "Could you show me where she was buried?" "I was not in the cemetery, so I don't know where they buried her." "That is such a shame. Is there a man or woman alive who attended that funeral?" "Yes, there is." "Go then and call those people here." So off the landowner went and called his neighbours. Then they went to the cemetery, and the neighbours told the prince which grave was his mother's. As the boy stopped in front of the grave, he said, "Dark wooden coffin, come up to the light." And the coffin came up at once. "Open your lid, coffin." The lid of the coffin sprang open. His mother was still alive in the coffin, and she was sewing a shirt for her son. Then he took his mother by her arm and led her to his father. "Well, father, do you recognize her as your wife?" "Yes, I do. Pulley dog, you must turn back into John at once." And the pulley dog turned back into John. "Do you recognize this man as your servant?" "Yes." "Do you recognize me as your son?" "Yes." That was why my dear mother had to suffer for 16 long years under the ground. "John, take the horse, ride home, and live a happy life with your wife." The boy stayed with his father, and they became 7 times richer than ever before. And they all lived happily ever after. You may think this a tale, but this story is true. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Horse Egg. There once lived a peasant who found a giant pumpkin in the meadow. What on earth could this be, he thought. So he bent down, lifted the giant pumpkin up, felt it and smelt it, but he still had no clue what it was. So he took the pumpkin to the village council. The councillors were in the middle of an important meeting when the farmer walked in and plonked the giant pumpkin on the table, and this surprised them all. I have lived a very long life, but I have never seen anything like that before. I have experienced a lot in my life, but I have never come across anything like that before. And I'm not a young man either, but I really couldn't tell you what on earth that is. Then the village mayor added wisely, "Gentlemen, this peculiar object, judging by its shape, cannot be anything else but an egg." Of course, what else could it be? It must be an egg. The peasant agreed and added that the egg-like object had been warm when he first found it. The local mayor had a very clever mind, and so he wanted to know exactly what kind of egg this might be. The old village leaders thought it could possibly be a terrible green dragon's egg. However, the mayor was inclined to agree with the farmer, who said that he had recently seen a strange horse in the very same meadow. The village leaders liked the sound of this and said, "It must be so. Nothing other than a horse could have laid such a giant egg." "Good. So tell me, my friends, what should we do next?" "Why, you must catch it, of course." "Yes, but what animal could do it?" "All horses don't lay eggs, so they could never hatch it." Everyone thought hard what to do, but then the mayor had an idea. "Gentlemen of the council, if the local horses are too stupid to hatch an egg, then we, the village council, should do it. We, gentlemen, must hatch the giant egg. That's what I say." This sounded like a wonderful idea, and everyone nodded in agreement. The village mayor decided to set an example, and so he was the first to sit on the giant egg, and then the gentlemen of the council followed one after the other. And they would all be still sitting on it today if the people in the next village had not spread the rumour that it had gone bad under their bottoms. When they heard this, the local leaders protested and refused to sit on the egg for a day longer. This made the mayor very sad because he said he was sure he had felt the horse moving inside it. But the village leaders were convinced the egg was rotten and it smelled very bad. But each stuck to their own side of the story. In the end, the council voted and decided to take the egg to the top of a hill and roll it down onto the people of the village below who had teased them so. The men, women and children of the village all walked up to the top of a nearby hill and prepared to punish their neighbours with the stinking egg. Everyone pinched their noses and the mayor began to roll the egg. And the giant egg rolled down and rolled down the hill until it rolled into the bushes at the bottom. This is where it broke in two, just as a rabbit ran out of the bushes. And all the villagers cried out, "There goes the horse! Come on, let's catch it!" And they all gave chase to the rabbit. Only the mayor stayed standing on top of the hill and muttered sadly to himself, "I told them that something was moving inside. We should have had the patience to sit on the egg for another day, and it would have grown into a fine, strong horse." Hungarian Folk Tales. Brave Prince Nick. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a king. And the king had 3 daughters. Every morning he took a walk in the forest with his daughters, until one morning when a large black cloud appeared in the sky. "King, you must give me your eldest daughter, or else I will snatch the sun from the sky." Then the king said, "If you are a good spirit, come down. If you are a bad spirit, go away." So off the cloud went, and it took the sun with it. The next morning they went for a walk again, and the black cloud appeared again. "King, give me your middle daughter, or else I will take the moon from the sky." The king did not do as the cloud demanded, and so it took the moon. On the 3rd day, the cloud appeared again. "King, give me your youngest daughter, or else I will steal all the stars." The king did not obey, and so it stole the stars. The world was ruled by darkness. One day, Prince Nick went down to the courtyard for water with his younger brother. "Brother, I would bring back the sun, the moon, and all the stars if the king would give me half of his kingdom and his youngest daughter's hand in marriage. The king heard what the prince said, and he sent for him, saying, "Look, my boy, if you do not do as you suggested, I shall have you executed. Give me a good sword, your majesty, and I shall set forth." And off he went through 7 lands. Eventually he came to a silver forest, and there he found a silver bridge. He struck the bridge, and a plank came loose. Then a dragon rode up on a horse, and the horse stumbled. The dragon said, "May dogs drink your blood. I have crossed this bridge for 3 years, but my horse has never stumbled. What happened? Fire for me, water for you, both of us must perish." The dragon climbed down from his horse and said, "Prince Nick, come out from your hiding place under the bridge. I have known you since you were no bigger than a seed, that I would have to do battle with you. How shall we fight? Wrestling, sticks, or swords? Wrestling is for dogs, sticks are for swineherds, swords are for heroes." And they began to fight. They fought and fought until Prince Nick cut off 2 of the dragon's heads. "Prince Nick, spare my last head, and I will return all the stars to you." "Where are they?" "There, under my saddle. Take them." Prince Nick took the stars from under the saddle, chopped the dragon's last head off, and walked away. He soon reached a golden forest. There he went up to a golden bridge. He struck the bridge with his sword. 2 planks broke off, and he hid himself under the bridge. The 7-headed dragon appeared, and its horse stumbled. "I have crossed this bridge for 7 years, but my horse has never stumbled. Why does it do it now? Fire for me, water for you, both of us must perish. Prince Nick, come out from your hiding place under the bridge. I have known since you were no bigger than a seed that I would have to do battle with you. How shall we fight? Wrestling, sticks, or swords? Wrestling is for dogs, sticks are for swineherds, swords are for heroes." They fought and fought until at last Prince Nick cut off 6 of the dragon's heads. "Prince Nick, spare my last head, and I will return you the moon. It is under my saddle." Prince Nick took the moon out and put it with the stars, and then he chopped off the dragon's last head. He walked, and soon Prince Nick arrived at the diamond forest. He went to the diamond bridge and struck it with his sword. 3 planks broke off, and he hid himself. A dragon appeared with 12 heads, and its horse stumbled on the bridge. "What happened? I have never stumbled in all 12 years. Fire for me, water for you, both of us must perish. I have known since you were no bigger than a seed that I would have to do battle with you. How shall we fight? Wrestling, sticks, or swords? Wrestling is for dogs, sticks are for swineherds, swords are for heroes." They fought and fought until Prince Nick cut off 11 of the dragon's heads. "Prince Nick, spare me my last head, and I shall give you the sun. It is there, under my saddle." The dragon had a horse with only 3 legs, but that horse could run faster than any horse with 4. Prince Nick put the stars and the moon under the saddle, mounted the horse with 3 legs, chopped the dragon's last head off, and rode away. As he was riding out of the forest, a little man spoke to him from the top of a tree. "Prince Nick, do you really think that the sun, the moon, and the stars are yours to keep?" "Of course. Who else should have them? Me." Prince Nick climbed the tree to do battle with the little man. While he was climbing, the little man jumped down into the saddle of the horse with 3 legs, and he rode off. Prince Nick climbed down and followed him, and as he was walking, he met a man. The man was crying. "Why are you crying?" "I'm crying because if I open my eyes, I can see through the world but see no further. Come with me, and you will be able to use your eyes again." They walked on and met another man who sat crying. "Why are you crying?" I'm crying because if I take one step, I will step over the world, but then can step no further. Come with us and you will be able to step again. As they walk, they reach a house where the little man lived. But he was not at home. Then Prince Nick said to the first man, "Have a good look around and try to find the little man with the long beard. I can see him. He is sitting on top of a willow tree in the middle of the sea." "Catch the little man for me," he told the second man. And the second man took one step, caught the little man, and took him to Prince Nick by his beard. Then Prince Nick took the sun, the moon, and the stars away from him. He let the stars fly up into the sky, and they lit his way home. And as he journeyed, he let the moon go too, and as he grew close to home, he released the sun, so that he would arrive back in the bright daylight. When the three young men arrived home, the king gave them his daughters, and he granted Prince Nick half his kingdom. They had a wonderful wedding, and they all lived happily ever after.